The space station floated above a small moon called Kareth 7. It was huge, made of metal and glass, and it sparkled like a jewel in the darkness of space. Inside the station, many different alien species worked together. They came from all over the galaxy to meet and talk and learn about each other. In one of the big dome rooms, a group of aliens stood watching something unusual. At the center of their attention was a human woman named Kate Hayes. She wore a simple gray uniform with a badge that said Earth Liaison. Next to her boots stood a small creature that looked like a mix between a wolf and a dragon. Its body was covered in shiny, crystal-like scales. Sharp teeth filled its mouth. This was a Crinithy cub, a baby predator from a dangerous world. The cub had its teeth locked onto Kate's boot. It was shaking its head back and forth, trying to look tough and scary. But Kate just stood there. She did not move. She did not pull her foot away. She just waited. "Agent Hayes, step back right now," said Instructor Velrus. He was a tall alien with a hard shell like a beetle. He had 4 eyes, and all of them looked worried. His shell turned bright orange, which meant he was very upset. "That creature is dangerous. It could hurt you." Kate did not step back. She looked down at the small predator with calm eyes. "He is learning trust," she said quietly. Her voice was soft but clear. The cub kept pulling on her boot. Its 3 pupiled eyes looked up at her face, then at her hand, then back at her face. It was not really trying to hurt her. It was testing her. It wanted to know what this strange 2-legged creature would do. A massive shadow moved across the floor. The cub's parent, Ambassador Threx, walked forward. Threx was enormous. He weighed as much as a small car and stood taller than any human. His body was pure muscle covered in those same crystal scales. Long claws clicked on the metal floor. He was an adult Crinithy, a hunter from the top of the food chain on his frozen home planet. "Honored human," Threx said in a deep voice that rumbled like thunder. A small device on his chest translated his words into English. "My child does not know how to be gentle yet. He might hurt you without meaning to." Kate finally looked up from the cub. A small smile appeared on her face. "Ambassador, with respect, he is not trying to hurt me. Look at his eyes." Around the room, aliens from 7 different species leaned closer to see better. A small blue alien with tentacles for arms whispered to his neighbor. A tall, thin creature with skin like tree bark made a worried clicking sound. They all stared at the cub's eyes. The cub's eyes were not wide and dark like they would be if he was attacking. Instead, they kept moving between Kate's face and her hand. "He looked curious, not angry. He is testing me," Kate explained. She spoke to everyone in the room, but she kept her body still. "On Earth, we call this play. Young animals do this when they want to learn about something new. They want to know if I am safe. They want to know if I will hurt them or scare them." Instructor Velrus made a sound like a whistle mixed with a hiss. "And what if you are wrong? The Crinithy are Category 4 predators. Even their babies have jaws strong enough to break bones. Even their young ones could kill a full-grown human." Kate took a slow breath. "Then I am wrong," she said simply. "But I do not think I am." Moving very slowly, like she was underwater, Kate lifted her hand. The cub saw her hand coming toward him. He let go of her boot and jumped backward. His body got low to the ground. Every alien in the room stopped breathing. The Crinithy were new members of the Galactic Council. Their people had only learned to travel between stars a few years ago. This meeting was very important. If the human got hurt, it could ruin everything. Kate's fingers were now very close to the cub's nose. He looked at her hand. He looked at her face. Then he moved so fast that several aliens gasped out loud. But he did not bite. Instead, he pressed his head against her palm. The crystal ridges on his skull were warm under her fingers. He made a sound like a cat's purr, but deeper and more musical. Everyone let out their breath at the same time. "I cannot believe what I just saw," said Overseer Killen. She was a Vexian, an alien that looked like a tall purple bird. The human showed no fear at all. "Our sensors detected no fear chemicals from her body. How is this possible?" Threx made a sound that his translator turned into laughter. "Captain Hayes, your people keep surprising us. On my world, we teach our children that fear is the first and most important lesson. Fear keeps you alive, but you teach something different. Kate scratched the cub behind the ridges near his ears. He leaned into her touch, and his purring got louder. We teach our children that respect and trust are not the same as fear, she said. Fear makes you act without thinking. Fear makes you do things you might regret. But trust makes you family. The small cub suddenly rolled onto his back. His belly scales, which were softer than the ones on his back, were now exposed to Kate. This was the most vulnerable part of his body. For a predator to show its belly meant complete trust. Several aliens made sounds of shock. Kate knelt down and gently rubbed the cub's stomach. His back leg kicked in happiness, just like a dog from Earth would do. Instructor Velrus stood very still. He was thinking hard about what he had just seen. He had been working with alien species for many years. He had seen thousands of first contact situations. But he had never seen anything like this. The humans came from a planet that had tried to kill them every single day. Earth had diseases, natural disasters, dangerous animals, and deadly weather. It should have made humans violent and afraid. But instead it made them kind and brave. Velrus updated his report on human behavior. He wrote that humans were the most confusing species in the known galaxy. They faced danger not with more danger, but with curiosity and care. They looked at things that could kill them and tried to make friends with them. It was either the smartest thing Velrus had ever seen, or the most foolish. Only time would tell which one it was. As the meeting ended and the aliens began to leave, Kate stayed with the cub for a while longer. He played around her feet, pouncing on her shoelaces and chasing his own tail. Ambassador Threx watched his child with something that looked like pride in his eyes. "You have a gift, Agent Hayes," Threx said. Not many beings in this galaxy would stand still while a predator approached them. Most would run or fight. Kate stood up and brushed off her uniform. On Earth, we learned a long time ago that running just makes predators chase you. And fighting when you do not need to just creates enemies. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stand still and wait to see what happens. Threx nodded slowly. His translator could not quite capture the emotion in his next words, but Kate understood anyway. Perhaps your people can teach us how to live in this galaxy. We Krinithi have only known strength and survival. You offer us something we never knew we needed. Kate smiled. Give it time, Ambassador. Trust does not happen in a day, but I think it is worth the wait. 3 weeks had passed since the first meeting with the Krinithi cub. The space station was busy with activity. Ships came and went. Diplomats from hundreds of worlds walked the halls. Everything seemed normal until the alarms started screaming. Lieutenant Danny Cole was giving a tour to some visiting aliens. He was showing them how humans could survive in different environments. The group was walking through Dome 7, which was built to look like the Krinithi homeworld. Tall crystal trees grew from the floor. The air was cold. Fake snow covered the ground. Then the lights turned red. A loud voice came from speakers everywhere. All people must leave Dome 7 now, danger. A predator has escaped. This is not a drill. The aliens in Danny's tour group started to panic. Some ran toward the exits. Others froze in place, too scared to move. But Danny did not run. He moved toward the sound of trouble, not away from it. The visiting aliens stared at him like he was crazy. Through the crystal trees, Danny saw Kate Hayes. She stood in an open area. Her feet were planted firmly on the ground. In front of her was a fully grown Krinithi hunter. Not Ambassador Threx, not the friendly cub. This was a wild one, brought to the station for scientists to study. The creature was huge. It stood as tall as a house at the shoulder. Muscles moved under its crystal scales like steel cables. Scars covered its body, telling stories of fights and hunts. Its eyes were pure yellow and empty of anything except hunger and the need to hunt. "Kate, move back slowly," Danny called out. His hand went to the weapon on his belt. It could send out a shock that would knock the creature unconscious. But he did not pull it out yet. Kate shook her head just a little. She did not take her eyes off the hunter. "No, if I run, it will chase me. That is what prey does, and predators always chase prey. If I pull out a weapon, it will think I want to fight. Right now, we are just looking at each other. That is better. The hunter took one step forward. Kate took one step back. The distance between them stayed the same. The hunter's nose moved as it breathed in her scent. It was trying to figure out what she was. What is it doing? Whispered one of the visiting aliens. It is deciding if I am something to eat or something to fear, Kate answered. Her voice was calm and steady. On Earth, we have animals that do the same thing. Big cats, wolves, bears, when you meet them, you do not run. You do not attack. You make yourself look big. You stand your ground, and you wait. What if it decides you are food? Asked Instructor Valrus. He had arrived with Ambassador Threx and a team of security guards. All of them had weapons ready. Then I have about 2 seconds to change my mind about this plan, Kate said. She almost sounded like she was joking, but Danny could hear the fear hidden in her voice. She was scared. She was just good at not showing it. The hunter began to circle around Kate. She turned with it, keeping her front facing its front. Danny noticed something strange. Kate was breathing at the same speed as the hunter. Long breath in. Long breath out. In, out. The rhythm was the same. The hunter's shoulders started to drop. It did not look quite so aggressive anymore. Its eyes were still locked on Kate, but something had changed. This is impossible, Threx said quietly. His translator made his voice sound amazed. She is matching her breathing to his. This is something my people do when two hunters meet. It tells the other one that you do not want to fight. How does she know about our customs? We never taught her this. Danny felt proud of his friend. She does not know your customs, Ambassador. She's just good at understanding predators. Kate spoke to the hunter. Her voice was low and gentle. Hey there, big one. You are scared, are you not? This is a new place. Everything smells wrong. Nothing is familiar. I understand. Let us both just stay calm. Nobody needs to get hurt. The hunter made a sound that was part growl and part whine. It was the sound of a confused animal, not an angry one. Its head lowered just a little. It was still watching Kate, but not with quite so much intensity. Then Kate did something that made Instructor Valrus make a sound of alarm. She lowered herself down into a crouch. She made herself smaller. She made herself look less dangerous. Agent Hayes, what are you doing? Valrus asked. His translator made his panic clear. I am showing that I am not a threat, Kate said. But I am doing it without acting weak. There is a difference. She sat down on her knees. Her hands rested on her legs, open and where the hunter could see them. I am not going to hurt you. I am not running away from you. I am just another creature trying to live in the same space as you. The hunter walked closer. Each step was careful and slow. When it got close enough that Kate could feel its breath on her face, it did something that made every alien in the room question. Everything they knew about predators. It lay down. The massive hunter put its head on its front paws. It looked at Kate with eyes that had changed from angry yellow to curious amber. Kate stayed on her knees, perfectly still, for a long time. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Finally, the creature closed its eyes. It is resting, Threx said. His voice was full of wonder. In front of an alien. In front of something it has never seen before. I have never heard of this happening. Kate stood up very slowly. The hunter opened its eyes but did not get up. She walked backward, one small step at a time. When she was far enough away, the security team moved in with their tranquilizer darts. The hunter went to sleep without fighting. As the security team put the hunter back in its cage, Danny walked over to Kate. He could see that her hands were shaking now. The fear she had been holding inside was coming out. That was either the bravest thing I have ever seen or the most stupid, Danny said. Kate let out a long breath. Probably both. But I meant what I said to the cub 3 weeks ago. Trust has to be earned. Even with a predator. Especially with a predator. She looked at her shaking hands and laughed a little. Besides, I knew you had your weapon ready. If things went bad, you would have stopped it. You had a lot of faith in my aim, Danny said. I had faith in you, Kate corrected him. That is different. Overseer Killen approached them. She looked at Kate with her large bird-like eyes. Agent Hayes, what you did today will be studied for years. Our scientists will want to understand how you calmed an aggressive Category 4 predator without weapons or drugs. This could change how we handle dangerous species. Kate shook her head. It is not complicated. I just remembered something my grandmother told me when I was young. She said that every creature, no matter how big or scary, just wants to feel safe. The hunter was not being aggressive. It was being afraid. And fear makes everyone dangerous. Instructor Velrus had been quiet, thinking about what he saw. Now he spoke. Agent Hayes, I need to update my reports about humans. Your species does not make sense according to our understanding of evolution. You should either be the most violent predators in the galaxy or the most fearful prey. But you are neither. How is this possible? Kate smiled at him. Because we are both, Instructor. Humans were hunted and we hunted. We were prey and we were predators. We learned both sides. That is our strength. We know what it feels like to be scared, so we know how to help others feel safe. As the day ended, Kate sat in the cafeteria with Danny. They drank coffee and talked quietly. Do you think you can do it again? Danny asked. Face down a predator like that? Kate was quiet for a moment. She looked at her coffee cup. I do not know. Every animal is different. Every situation is different. What worked today might not work tomorrow. That is the scary part. But you will try anyway, Danny said. It was not a question. Yes, Kate agreed. Because someone has to show them that there is another way. The galaxy treats predators like they are broken, like they need to be fixed or controlled. But they are not broken. They are just different. And different does not mean bad. Danny raised his coffee cup. To different, then. Kate touched her cup to his. To different. The meeting room was cold. Instructor Velrus sat across from Kate Hayes and Chief Liaison Gregory Hunt. Velrus's shell had turned purple, which meant he was being stubborn. His 4 eyes looked at the 2 humans with something close to frustration. No, Velrus said flatly. The Council has made its decision clear. Humans cannot be part of the Predator training program. Your methods are too dangerous. Too unpredictable. Kate sat with her hands folded on the table. She looked calm, but Gregory could tell she was choosing her words carefully. With respect, Instructor, your program only works 38% of the time. That means more than half of the predator species you train still have problems. They get nervous around prey species. They have trouble in meetings. Some of them quit the program entirely. Velrus's shell color darkened. Our methods have been used for hundreds of years. We know what we are doing. Slow exposure to other species. Controlled rooms where nothing can go wrong. Medicine to calm them down when needed. It works. You are treating them like they are sick, Kate said quietly. But they are not sick. They are just different from prey species. Different in ways that can get someone killed, Velrus shot back. The Krinothi have hunting instincts 17 times stronger than what we consider safe. The Draxians, the Vexenar, the Carthan, all of them evolved to be killers. You cannot just wish that away with kindness. Gregory leaned forward. His voice was smooth and diplomatic. What if we could prove the human method works? A test program. Small groups. Careful watching. If it works, you expand it. If it does not, we go back to your way. The Council would never approve such a thing, Velrus began to say. The door opened. Ambassador Threx walked in, and he was not alone. Behind him came 3 other aliens. One was a Draxian pack leader with black scales that looked like volcanic glass. One was a Vexenar Alpha with 6 arms that moved in ways that made humans uncomfortable. The last was a Carthan who looked like a huge cat that walked on 2 legs. The Council does not need to approve, Threx said. His deep voice filled the room. We approve. 14 predator species have joined the Council in the last few years. All of us have trouble with your protocols. The medicine makes our thinking slow and cloudy. The controlled rooms feel like prisons. And the fear we smell on prey species makes every meeting feel like we are hunting them, even when we do not want to. The Draxian, whose name was Commander Xerix, spoke next. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. The human Kate Hayes showed us something in Dome 7. She faced one of the most dangerous hunters in known space. She got it to trust her without fighting, without running, without any weapons. This is what we need to learn. Valrus looked at each of them. His confidence was starting to crack. And if someone gets hurt? If a human's trust turns out to be misplaced? If someone dies because we tried this experiment? Kate stood up. She walked around the table to face Valrus directly. Then we deal with it. But Instructor, your current method is not working well enough. How many predator species have given up on joining the Council because they could not handle your protocols? How many possible friends has the galaxy lost because we treat their nature as a problem instead of just a difference? The Vexinar Alpha made a complex sound. The translator struggled with it before settling on words. Humans understand that predator and prey are just roles, not who you are. In human history, they have been both prey and predator. This gives them knowledge we need. Gregory saw an opening. One test program. Kate trains a small group from each predator species. 6 months. If the integration numbers get better, the Council thinks about making it bigger. If not, we go back to standard training. That is fair. Valrus was quiet for a long time. All 4 of his eyes studied the faces around him. His shell slowly changed from stubborn purple to resigned blue. I will take this proposal to the Oversight Committee, but I want it written down that I have concerns. Written down and noted, Kate said with a small smile. Concerns are good. They keep you careful. After the meeting ended, Danny found Kate looking out a large window at the stars. Do you think you can actually do this? He asked. Kate watched a ship drift past the station. You know what the hardest part was? When I faced that hunter? It was not being scared of getting attacked. It was being scared that I was wrong. That I would misread what was happening and someone would get hurt because I trusted my instincts instead of following the rules. But you were right, Danny said. That time, but I might not be right next time. She turned to look at him. That is what I need to teach them. It is not about having no fear. It is about understanding fear, both yours and theirs, and working through it together. Danny nodded. Walk in someone else's shoes, like the old saying goes. Or boots, Kate said, remembering the cub's teeth. Definitely boots. 2 weeks later, Kate stood in front of her first class. The training room she designed was nothing like the normal predator training rooms. There were no cages, no separate areas, no thick walls. Instead, there were comfortable chairs arranged in circles. There were spaces to exercise and move. And most shocking to Valrus, there was a shared eating area. You want predators and prey to eat together? Valrus had asked, his translator barely able to handle his disbelief. It is how humans build trust, Kate had explained. Sharing food. It is one of our oldest ways of making friends. Now she looked at her students. 12 individuals from 6 different predator species. All of them watched her with the focused attention that hunters naturally have. Threx's cub sat next to her, bigger now but still her friend. Today we talk about body language, Kate began. She walked slowly in front of the group. Every species in this room shows threat, fear, curiosity, and comfort in different ways. The Council's standard training tries to make one universal language, but it misses something important. She gestured to the cub. When this little one bit my boot, he was not being mean. He was talking in the only way he knew how at that age. The mistake was not what he did. The mistake was thinking that all predator actions mean violence. A Carthan named Lisa raised her clawed hand. Her fur had hunting stripes. But we are hunters. Our instincts do push us toward aggression sometimes. How do we balance that with Council species who evolved as prey? By recognizing that humans did both, Kate answered. We were hunters on the African plains, but we were also hunted by bigger predators. We learned to understand both sides because we had to. She showed them pictures of Earth animals on a screen. Wolves, lions, bears, sharks. We lived alongside all of them. Sometimes we competed. Sometimes we cooperated. Some of them we even turned into partners. We domesticated them, not by erasing what they were, but by working with their nature. Commander Xyrix leaned forward. His black scales caught the light. The Draxians tried domestication once. It failed badly. The prey animals we chose could not overcome their fear. Because you were trying to make them stop being prey, Kate said. That does not work. Instead, you build systems where both predator and prey can be safe while staying true to what they are. Danny, who was helping with the class, showed more pictures. These showed human children playing with big dogs. Several predator species made worried sounds. Those are young humans with a predator species, Lisa said. Those canines could easily hurt them. But they do not, Kate said. Because we have rules, boundaries, and trust. The dogs know these small humans are family members to protect. The children know the dogs are friends who play rough but will not harm them. Both sides understand their roles. She moved to the center of the circle. Your challenge is not to stop being predators. Your challenge is to expand who you think of as family to include species that do not look like you. And for prey species, the challenge is to recognize that predator does not automatically mean danger. The weeks that followed were hard work. Kate had Draxions practice sharing food with small prey species. Both sides had to manage their instincts. She had Vexinar alphas learn to soften their hunting stares during negotiations. She taught Carthan hunters to understand the difference between fear-based submission and respect-based submission. But the real test came in week 5. A group of Quelix arrived at the station. The Quelix were small prey species, like rabbits that could talk. They were merchants, good at trading, but they were naturally scared of predators. Evolution had made them that way. Within hours, 3 Quelix had filed official complaints. They did not feel safe on the station. This is exactly what I warned you about, Velris said in an emergency meeting. Predator species make prey species uncomfortable just by existing near them. Kate read the complaints carefully. Krinithi ambassadors stared too much during meetings. Draxian guards stood in doorways. Vexinar staff approached too quickly from behind. These are not mean acts, Kate said finally. These are cultural misunderstandings. Krinithi maintain eye contact to show respect. Draxians guard doorways because that is how they show they are protecting you. Vexinar approach from behind because coming from the front is aggressive in their culture. Intent does not matter if the Quelix feel threatened. Overseer Killen said. Then we teach both sides, Kate replied. Give me one day. That evening, Kate gathered an unusual group. 3 Quelix merchants. 4 of her predator students, some prey species council staff. In the center of the room, she placed food. We are going to share dinner, she announced. And 6 months had passed since Kate started her program. Now, the Galactic Council was meeting to decide if her methods should continue. The numbers were clear and impossible to argue with. Predator species integration scores had gone up by 74%. Diplomatic incidents had dropped by 62%. Most amazing of all, 3 prey species planets had actually asked for Krinithi security guards. A year ago, that would have been unthinkable, but the numbers did not tell the whole story. In the council chambers, Ambassador Threx stood before hundreds of alien representatives. His young cub sat beside him, calm despite being surrounded by so many different species. The cub had grown. He was bigger now, stronger, with sharper teeth and claws. But he sat quietly, looking around with curious eyes instead of aggressive ones. The humans have taught us something important, Threx began. His translator carried his words to every corner of the massive room. They showed us that strength does not get smaller when you are gentle. That predator and prey are not destinies written in stone, but just circumstances. My child no longer fears meeting new species. He approaches them with curiosity instead. This is the future the human method offers us. Instructor Velris stood up to speak. His shell had changed to a thoughtful green color. I must admit that my first judgment was wrong. The human approach seemed reckless. It seemed dangerous. But I failed to think about one important thing. Humans themselves are proof that their method works. He pointed to where Kate sat with Danny and Gregory in the observer section. They come from a world that should have made them the galaxy's most violent predators or most fearful prey. Instead, they became both and neither. They keep animals as pets that could kill them. They show compassion to species that would naturally be their food. This contradiction is not a weakness. It is their greatest strength. The vote was clear and overwhelming. The human integration method would be expanded to all council stations. That evening, Kate found herself back in the biodome where everything started. The Krinithi cub ran over to her, now nearly twice as big as he had been 6 months ago. His bite was stronger. His claws were sharper. But his greeting was gentle. He pressed his head against her leg and made that deep purring sound. Danny walked over with 2 cups of coffee. You did it. You actually changed how the galaxy thinks about predators and prey. Kate scratched behind the cub's ridges. Not me, you did it. By being willing to trust. By taking the risk of biting a stranger's boot to see what would happen. Most people would have jumped back. Would have confirmed his belief that different means dangerous. Most people did not grow up with dogs, Kate said with a smile. Or cats, or horses, or any of the 100 species humans decided to befriend even though it made no logical sense. Threx approached them. His massive body somehow seemed less scary now that Kate understood his species better. Agent Hayes, the Krinithi High Council, has asked me to give you an invitation. They want to start an exchange program on our homeworld. They specifically asked for you to lead it. Kate looked surprised. Me? But there are many qualified people who could do this. They asked for you, Threx said gently, because you treated my child not as a threat to be managed, but as a person to be understood. That is the lesson we want our people to learn. As Kate thought about the offer, the cub did something unexpected. He carefully picked up her boot in his mouth, the same boot he had bitten months ago. He placed it gently in front of her. Then he sat back, tail moving back and forth, eyes bright with what looked like mischief. Danny laughed. I think that is his way of saying please. Kate got down to the cub's level. You know, when you bit my boot that first day, everyone thought I was crazy for not pulling away. But I saw something in your eyes. Not aggression. Just curiosity. Just a question. Can I trust you? The cub tilted his head, following her words even if he could not understand all of them. And my answer was yes. You can always trust me to see you for who you are, not what I fear you might be. She stood and shook Threx's hand. I accept on one condition. Name it. We bring dogs. If we are going to teach the galaxy about trust between predators and prey, we might as well bring the experts. 3 months later, the first human group arrived on Krynith. The planet was frozen and beautiful. Crystal forests grew under skies filled with colored lights. Kate stepped off the transport ship with a team of scientists, diplomats, and 6 carefully chosen dogs. They were retrievers and shepherds, picked for their gentle nature and social skills. The Krinithi who came to greet them approached slowly. Curiosity fought with instinct in their minds. But when the first dog wagged its tail and pushed its head into a warrior's hand, asking for pets from a species that could easily kill it, something changed. The small predator shows no fear, said an elder Krinithi. Her scales were gray with age. Why? Kate smiled. Because on Earth, we learned something that I think the galaxy is just starting to understand. Trust is not about erasing differences or pretending danger does not exist. It is about choosing connection despite the risk. It is about saying I see what you could do to me, and I choose to believe you will not. She watched as Threx's cub played with one of the retrievers. The 2 young predators tumbled together in the snow, all teeth and claws and happy roughhousing. Neither hurt the other. Both understood the limits. That is the human method, Kate continued. Not being without fear, just having faith that understanding is stronger than instinct. As the group settled in for what would become a year of cultural exchange, Kate wrote her first report back to Earth. It ended with a simple thought. We spent hundreds of years learning to live with predators on our own world. Now we are teaching the galaxy the same lesson. It starts with something small. A cub biting a boot, a dog wagging a tail, a hand reaching out despite fear. But it grows into something extraordinary. A universe where predator and prey are not enemies, just different kinds of family learning to share the same home. The galaxy thought humans were strange for trusting so easily, for befriending dangers, for showing kindness to creatures that could harm us. They did not understand that this was not being naive. It was experience. We knew the cost of fear, the price of isolation, the weight of walls built between different kinds of minds. So we did what humans always do when faced with a problem. We chose connection over safety, understanding over instinct, and hope over fear. And slowly, one boot bite at a time, the galaxy is learning to do the same. The first winter on Krynith was hard. The cold was more intense than any cold on Earth. The wanes could knock a human down. But Kate and her team pushed through. They held classes in ice caves. They taught Krynithi children about Earth animals. They showed adults how cooperation between different species could benefit everyone. The dogs were the biggest success. Watching a small Earth predator play with massive Krynithi hunters broke down walls that words could not touch. The dogs did not care that the Krynithi were Category 4 predators. They just cared that someone would throw a ball for them or scratch their ears. One day, the Grey Elder approached Kate. "I have lived for 90 cycles around our sun," she said. "I have seen my people grow from primitive hunters to space travelers. But I never thought I would see the day when we would learn gentleness from aliens. You have given us a gift, human Kate." "The gift goes both ways," Kate replied. "You are teaching us about strength and honor. We are teaching you about trust and cooperation. Together we are all becoming something better." As the year progressed, more and more Krynithi began to understand the human way. They learned that eye contact could be softened, that strength could be shown through protection instead of aggression, that being a predator did not mean being alone. By the end of the year, something remarkable happened. A group of young Krynithi asked if they could visit Earth. They wanted to see the world that had produced such strange and wonderful ideas about predators and prey living together. Kate sent a message to Gregory. "Hunt back at the station. Request approved for Krynithi Youth Exchange Program to Earth. I think it is time they meet our predators face to face. Let us see what happens when Krynithi cubs meet Earth wolves." Gregory's response came back quickly. "Are you sure that is a good idea?" Kate smiled as she read his message. She looked at Threx's cub, now almost fully grown, playing gently with a retriever half his size. "I am sure. Trust has to go both ways. We came to their world. Now they come to ours. That is how family works." Years passed since that first meeting between Kate and the Krynithi cub. The galaxy had changed in ways both big and small. The human integration method was now taught at every council station. Predator species who once struggled to join the galactic community now served as diplomats, teachers, and peacekeepers. But the biggest change was happening on Earth itself. Kate stood at the landing pad outside Denver, watching the sky. Next to her stood Danny, Gregory, and a crowd of humans who had gathered to witness history. In the sky, 3 Krynithi transport ships descended through the clouds. They moved slowly, carefully, like the pilots understood how important this moment was. "Nervous?" Danny asked. Kate nodded. "Terrified. We spent years teaching the galaxy about Earth's way. Now they get to see if we actually practice what we preach." The ships landed with a soft hum of engines. The doors opened. Ambassador Threx stepped out first, followed by his son, who was now a young adult. Behind them came 20 Krynithi youths, all of them looking around at Earth with wide, curious eyes. The crowd of humans stood still. Some looked excited. Some looked scared. Kate could understand both reactions. The Krynithi were impressive and frightening in equal measure. Threx approached Kate and extended his massive clawed hand. She took it without hesitation. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador. Welcome home." Threx's son, who had been named Danny in honor of the human lieutenant, bounded forward like an excited puppy despite his size. He pressed his head against Kate's shoulder, purring loudly. The crowd made sounds of surprise and delight. "He remembers," Threx said with something like pride in his voice. "After all these years, he remembers the first human who showed him kindness?" Over the next weeks, the Crinithi youth program exceeded everyone's hopes. Kate took them to wildlife preserves where they met Earth wolves. The meeting between the two predator species was tense at first. Both groups circled each other, testing, evaluating. Then one brave Volf approached a young Crinithi and touched noses. The ice was broken. They visited farms where they saw humans working, alongside animals that humans had domesticated thousands of years ago. Horses, dogs, cats, even chickens. The Crinithi were amazed that humans kept prey animals not as food, but as partners and friends. "You keep these creatures safe," observed a young Crinithi female named Kate, named after the human who had changed so much. "You protect them from other predators. You give them food and shelter?" "Why?" Kate smiled. "Because they give us things in return. Chickens give us eggs. Cows give us milk. Horses help us travel. Dogs guard our homes and keep us company. It is a partnership. Both sides benefit." "But you could just take what you want," young Kate said. "You are stronger than them. Being able to do something does not mean you should do it," Kate replied. "That is one of the hardest lessons humans ever learned. Power without responsibility is just tyranny. Strength without compassion is just cruelty." The real test came when Kate took the group to a Volf sanctuary in Montana. Here, wolves that could not survive in the wild lived in protected areas. The sanctuary director, a woman named Beth Cooper, was nervous about having Crinithi visitors. "These wolves are rescued animals," Beth explained as they walked through the forest. "Some were injured. Some were raised by humans and never learned to hunt. They depend on us." They reached a large enclosure. Inside, a pack of 6 wolves raised their heads as the group approached. The pack leader, a large gray Volf named Storm, stood and walked to the fence. He looked at the Crinithi with intelligent yellow eyes. The Crinithi youths stopped moving. Every instinct they had was probably screaming that they were looking at a rival predator. Storm's eyes swept across the group, evaluating them the same way. Then Threx's son, young Danny, did something no one expected. He lowered himself to the ground, making himself smaller, less threatening. It was the same posture Kate had used years ago when she first met the wild Crinithi hunter. Storm's ears came forward. His tail moved slightly. He made a soft sound, not quite a growl, not quite a whine. It was a question. Young Danny crawled forward slowly until he was right at the fence. Storm approached from his side. They were separated by metal wires, 2 predators from different worlds. Meeting for the first time, Storm pressed his nose against the fence. Young Danny pressed his nose to the same spot from his side. They breathed each other's scent. They looked into each other's eyes. And then Storm's tail started wagging. Beth made a sound of shock. Storm never warms up to strangers that fast. It usually takes weeks. "Predator recognizes predator," Threx said quietly. "They see themselves in each other." Over the next hour, all the Crinithi youths had similar meetings with the wolves. The wolves seemed to understand that these strange, crystal-scaled creatures were not threats. The Crinithi learned that Earth's predators could be gentle, could be trusting, could be friends. That night, around a campfire, Kate sat with the Crinithi youths and talked. "Today you met some of Earth's top predators," she said. "What did you learn?" Young Kate spoke first. "I learned that being a predator does not mean being alone. The wolves have their pack. They work together. They care for each other. Like Crinithi, but different." "I learned that humans see predators as equals, not threats," said another youth. "You do not fear wolves. You respect them." Young Danny had been quiet, thinking hard. Now he spoke. "I learned why you were not afraid when I bit your boot all those years ago. You had met wolves. You had met dogs. You knew that a young predator testing boundaries was not the same as a predator attacking. You had practice. Kate nodded. Exactly. And now you have practice too. When you go back to Kruneth, when you meet other species, you will remember this. You will remember that being different does not mean being enemies. The exchange program became a permanent part of Earth's relationship with the Krinithi. Every year, more youths from both species visited the other's world. Humans learned about honor, strength, and the predator's perspective. Krinithi learned about cooperation, trust, and the power of gentleness. 5 years after that first exchange, something remarkable happened. A joint Earth-Krinith exploration mission was proposed. A ship crewed by both species would venture into unexplored space. When the Council heard about it, there were concerns. Humans and Krinithi working together in the isolation of deep space? Overseer Killen asked. What if conflicts arise? Kate, now a senior ambassador, smiled. Then they will handle it the way all families handle conflicts. They will talk. They will compromise. They will remember that they chose to be together. The ship, named Unity, launched with a crew of 30 humans and 30 Krinithi. Danny served as human captain. Threx's son served as Krinithi captain. They shared command equally. On the day Unity departed, Kate stood at the observation deck and watched it disappear into the dark. Gregory stood beside her. Do you think they will be okay? He asked. I think they will be better than okay, Kate replied. Because they learned the most important lesson. That trust is not about being the same. It is about appreciating differences and choosing connection anyway. Years later, when historians wrote about the Great Integration period, they would point to many factors. New technology, economic benefits, political pressure. But those who lived through it knew the real truth. It started with a cub biting a boot, with a human who stood still instead of running, with a decision to see curiosity instead of aggression. With faith that understanding could bridge any gap, Kate Hayes retired eventually, but her legacy lived on. The human integration method spread to hundreds of worlds. Predator and prey species that had never imagined working together now serve side by side in the Council. On her last day before retirement, Kate visited the space station where it all began. The biodome where she first met the cub was now a memorial site. A statue stood there, showing a human woman kneeling while a small Krinithi cub pressed its head into her hand. The plaque beneath it read simple words in multiple languages. Trust begins with a single moment of courage. One person willing to stand still. One person willing to reach out. One person willing to believe that different does not mean dangerous. Kate touched the statue's base. She remembered that day so clearly. The fear she felt. The choice she made. The cub's teeth on her boot. The moment when fear turned to trust. Not bad for one crazy human, Danny said, walking up behind her. He was older now, gray at his temples, but his smile was the same. We were all crazy, Kate said. Thinking we could change how the galaxy worked. Thinking trust could overcome millions of years of evolution. But we did it. We did, Kate agreed. One boot bite at a time. Far away, on ships traveling between stars, human and Krinithi crew members worked side by side. On planets across the galaxy, predator and prey species built communities together. Children of both types played together, learning from an early age that different was not scary. Just interesting. And somewhere, in a small human home on Earth, a family dog slept peacefully next to a visiting Krinithi youth. The youth's claws were carefully tucked in. The dog's tail thumped gently in sleep. Both dreaming of a galaxy where trust had won over fear. The revolution had started with something small. A cub? A boot? A human who chose to stand still. But it had grown into something beautiful. A universe learning that the greatest strength was not in claws or teeth or weapons, but in the courage to true.